you can do that. Just be cautious of your ladders and people stepping on it. You know, we don't want to rip or tear the fabric on a hard surface down below. They're running the power cord through JB back here. JB's with me for about 4 years also, on and off. Had an injury with a car accident, which set him back a little bit of time, but good to have you back on board with us, buddy. So he's doing the wiring, which would be kind of that, you know, second person while one person's prepping the track, going ahead and doing the wiring. Our motors are 3 wires, so we provide the plug. Every unit that you receive, you're going to receive the waterproof plug on the end that comes standard with our products. It's very simple. You got a black, white, and green cord coming out of the motor. Black goes to gold, white goes to silver, and then you got your green to green, you know, when you're connecting it inside the plug area. You got a 4-wire directional. Those are going to be completely different motors, you know, more for integration. I didn't really talk a lot about that, but I'm going to try to persuade most of you to go with the RTS, you know, motors on integration and use the bridge versus going hardwired, you know, 4-wire direct connect. If you do a 4-wire motor, all of your limits are on the head of the motor. They are not on the remote. You lose all the functionality, the adjustability of what Magnatrack is and all the safety features that we build into it by going with a 4-wire motor versus the 3-wire motor. So if you have any questions on that, feel free, you know, to get with me. Nick, can you go ahead and pull that out of the bracket just real quick again so people can see? So when you're installing the new Caposa bracket, you'll see that John has the roller slightly down. As Nick lifts it up in the air, he's going to drop the bottom part of the bracket into the cradle, let it set. Then we lift the idler side up to level, which is going to push that bracket into place. On the idler side, take your cotter pin, put your cotter pin through the black bushing and the steel shaft. A lot of the times people try to move it with their hand. If you can pull that black bushing right off of that shaft, only put the cotter pin through the black bushing, next thing you know, the roller falls out of the hood. So after you get it installed, grab it, rattle it, pull it, make sure that it's good and secured up inside. I almost had a 30-foot roller fall on my head when I was in Puerto Rico training a dealer. It came right by the side of my head, and if it would have hit me, it would have killed me. So you know, while you're working around here, we got a lot of exposed weight up above us, so check it every time. Once we get up to this point, we're going to we got power to the motor. On the Caposa motor, the white button. If you ordered the motor side right, my team built it right, you should always have the white button exposed right in front of you. So press, hold it 7 to 10, the motor runs down. If I release and push the white button again, the motor or the roller will go up. I can sit there and rotate this without programming it to the remote. So I don't have to have the remote. In factory mode, out of the factory, the motor is going to have 3 revolutions. 3 up, 3 down. We don't preset the limits for this system when you install it. That's your job to do in the field. So I can't exactly guarantee how many revolutions up, you know, how much screen you rolled off of this when you're doing the install. So just be cautious, but press, hold 7 to 10 seconds till you get movement. Screen rolls down, release, press again, you can roll it up. We want to get this down to about chest to waist height, somewhere in this range here, and I'm not even paired to the remote yet. But when I'm paired to the remote, right now this remote is inactive, so all I do to pair my remote, press and hold the white button. Whichever direction that the roller runs down, I release, press down, opposite button to confirm, my remote is paired. Very simple, right? So whichever direction it runs, press the same direction and that will pair and sync your remote. Wherever you are comfortable to work in, you know, I like somewhere right around chest to waist height, you know, for putting the weight bar on. When we put the weight bar on, you know, something that you have to make sure of. If I was inside a trapped opening, I had a wall here and a wall there, how would I install my weight bar? Am I hanging it over the edge of the house? Do I have ladders out there? Am I walking over the roof? Am I walking into the lake? What am I doing? If you have a 20-foot wide screen, you need 20 feet to put the weight bar on. You need 40 feet total. So understand the room that you need to install the weight bar. Otherwise, you're gonna have to take it out to another area, install the weight bar while it's on just the roller before it goes into the housing. And then you're gonna have to transport that whole heavy piece, all of that weight together, and then try and lift it all up in the air together, which is gonna make it more difficult. So plan out your install and be prepared for those things. When we go to do the install, one of the first critical things, watch how he's holding this in his forearm, right in his elbow there. So that gives him free 2 hands. One hand to hold the edge of the screen, fold it up with the keter, the second one to guide it into the slot. Pull that across. You gotta hold the edge of the screen as you're sliding the weight bar across the opening. You'll keep the weight bar down about level on the opposite side, and as we shift across, one person holds the edge of the screen, the other person goes back, taps the weight bar into place. There's 2 screws right up here at the top that need to be installed, both sides. Again, you will have stickers that come on the weight bar. Insert screws here, big green sticker saying there, same thing on the opposite side. On the Hurricane screens have 4 screws. 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. So you will receive those, with every kit. There's 4 screws on the Hurricane and 3 on the standard, or 2 on the standard. Once we get this up into the air, I like working somewhere right around, about head height, so that we can grab the screen weight bar, pull it back. If we were doing a face mount application, we'd be basically at this stage. Hood in, roller in, weight bar on, take the whole track assembly, slide it onto the edge of the screen, push it up into place, and screw it to the wall. With an inside mount, we're doing a hybrid, kind of 50-50 of each. Our track housing is already secured to the wall, but our inner track is free and clear. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna shift it over to John's side. He's gonna hold the weight of the weight bar while I navigate the track into place here. Pop it in. Now when you're doing this, a lot of the times, so I can still pull it back out if I need to, but I'll just run it up and I'll tap the track in as it's going up, letting the magnets do their job. That track is in place. Easy peasy. So we still have the weight bar outside of the track. A couple things that you can do if you want, doesn't really make a difference. You can lift this. You can drop the weight bar into the, into the track if you want, or you can just leave it outside. If you were doing more of a recess or you had some kind of header build out, maybe you could take and drop this into the middle, run it up, and then you're just gonna lift the weight bar up and drop it in. This is gonna be a 2-man process at this point. I'm gonna leave the weight bar outside of it for right now. Which one are you just taking? You're gonna take the weight bar? Okay. So John's gonna have the weight bar, Nick's gonna have the roller. So what let me get that up a little higher for you. So I wanna see the weight bar up within about 2 inches of the top of the track. So I'm putting it back into program mode for the upper limit, right back and up. There it is. So press and release the up button. Try not to leave the motor in programming mode. Programming mode, you have 3 minutes with Composa. So after 3 minutes, that motor is going to jog. So if you're holding the roller up on a tall ladder, all of a sudden that roller jogs, might throw you off the ladder. So always try to complete the process, press the center stop button, see how the motor jogged up and down. Now we're completed, and that's back in programmed mode. John's going to pull the cotter pin on the edge of the idler shaft. Nick is going to hold the weight of the roller. So his job is to hold the roller, keeping pressure against the motor. John has 2 hands to maneuver and drop that weight bar down into the top of the track and feed it into the funnel. Once it's back in place, push the roller back in, make sure that that shaft is all the way engaged into the bracket, and make sure that the cotter pin goes all the way through. You'll see some of the wrinkling on the roller up top. I don't usually worry about that right now at this point. What you'll see Magnatrack is kind of doing, it's realigning, adjusting, shifting that screen back into place, retensioning and stretching it. Where most of the time with all of our competitor products, you're sitting there fidgeting and screwing with the track adjustment, doing it multiple times, where Magnatrack does it on its own. So as we get down here, you can see how the obstacle detection works. And then pretty much we roll it up at that point, making sure everything's aligned before we put our track retainers on, or see if we have any adjustments that we need to do. We need to check our alignment between our weight bar and our end caps, making sure that we're good and consistent all the way up on those. Making sure that we're not seeing those heavy screws all the way through the end of it. Making sure that it's level. Yes, sir.
What if they're not?
So if you have too big a gap there, you know, again, measure it. Is it within 3/8 to a 1/2 inch max between that end cap? If it is over, you're going to need to unbolt those tracks. You're going to need to shim behind them. You're going to need to pull the tracks in so that those weight bars, so it is aligned. Once you put the track retainers on, that system is not going to come down if you have more than that. Yeah, so you just basically pull this, pull everything back out, you know, and start again. Yes. So if you had an opening that was that far out, once you put it into place, then yes, you would need the U-channel typically, unless you can put some shims behind it and then caulk it good enough that's going to be acceptable. So on here, you know, we'd make sure everything's good and level, running good. If everything was flat, we didn't have any bias, we could go ahead and put our track retainers on. I'm going to actually do a donut adjustment to show you what that is first. So to put it back into programming mode and change the lower limit, I'm going to press the right back and the down button at the same time. Press and hold those 7 to 10 seconds till we get a jog out of the motor. You can control or adjust either the top individually or bottom individually on these. We're going to go ahead and lower it down, bypass, let's say that the set screw was in here. We loosen up the set screw, we're going to slide the donut out and away. I'm going to give you a radical change on this one, just so that you can see how much we can correct and what it really does to distort the material. You usually don't have to move it out this far. But on this one here, we're going to go ahead and do this, you know, with a pretty radical change. So once we get it up, we adjust our bottom limit. In case we hit it right, go ahead and press and hold the center stop button, motor jogs, and we'll raise it up. The reaction is going to start about halfway. Probably right about where my foot is on here and right there. So I can start to see a little bit of waviness in the material starting to react because we're adjusting from a square cut screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the weight bar much higher on this side. So I'm doing a reverse scenario of what we had. What would truly be working is if the screen was cut this way, I would be leveling the weight bar. So I'm actually taking a level weight bar, going to make it like this. So the donuts only work for the top. If you have a gap when you install your screen underneath your weight bar, that you can't correct with the donuts because all the screen is unraveled off of the roller. So if it was flat, you ordered it flat, you're gonna need to either send that screen back to us, we can cut the bias in it, or reorder a new screen on there. So as this rolls up, we're gonna start seeing more pocketing going across the screen. You're gonna start to see it roll up on the roller up here and start creating those creases going across. It's changing the angle of the weight bar as it's going up. So there's about a good 2.5, 3 inch correction, on there, which I can pull it out a little bit further to get it even anymore. Now, as we saw the screen going up, how it was wrinkling and how it was causing all these creases. The one thing about Magnatrack is the screen is going to be looser in the middle, so it doesn't create a hard set in that screen material compared to the end where the keeters always build up bigger than the middle of the screen, so that's why we're able to do this with our system. If they leave this rolled up with this kind of bias, the screens aren't going to look great when they first roll them down. It's going to have a little bit of that creasing effect to it. So they're better off to use the screen more, let the screens continue to, relax, and flatten, rather than leaving them rolled up and not using them at all if they do have heavy biases like this in their screens. A 1 inch, 2 inch bias, you're not going to see any kind of this heavy pocketing like you see right now on this screen. Also, let's say that they have all of their screens deployed. They want to get more airflow. So these screens that are on the side, they raise it up halfway to their desired position. If you raise the screen from the floor to your desired position, you're going to see more pocketing and waviness to the screen. If you raise it all the way up to the top and drop it down, gravity is pulling everything down, so those waves in that screen are going to go away a lot quicker. That material is flat there, where at my foot it was wrinkling before. So all those waviness in the screen is now gone. So I always say bring it up to the top, lower it down to your desired position if you want the best looking shade. All make sense? If we did it too much, if we needed more, obviously we'd lower it back down, go through the same process. We're going to open up the bottom limit, pressing the right back in the down, 7 to 10 seconds till we get a jog. What doesn't like me today? Dropped so many times. Slide that back in, that'll bring us back to level. Set that bottom limit, press and hold. Then we're going to do the track retainers. So we provide you, every order is going to get a track tool. So you'll get a bunch of these, keep them, make sure, you can break them, out in the field, if you don't hold them onto the track right. So what I usually like to do or tell people, push it to the track, kind of put the palm of your hand on it, and you're going to be twisting, hard. You can twist up, with it. Sometimes you can grab it, hold it, pull it down. And then we're going to take our track retainers. So our track retainers, obviously if we had a 120 inch track, we're going to cut our long track retainers on the bottom 6 to 6 1/8 inches shorter. So we're going to cut those at 114, 113 7/8, and then we're going to install our lower track retainers. There's a rubber gasket on the back side. This goes towards the inner track. It's a sound dampener. So when that track is moving in, it hits against the rubber gasket, it stops the noise in the system. So don't face it out. Otherwise, if you do face it out, it's going to drag against the weight bar, and that friction is going to stop the system from deploying. So towards the inside, grab the track retainer or track tool. Go through, pop it all on. On these, you would repeat the process, so one goes on the outside, one goes on the inside. After you do that, you would lower the weight bar down more than the 6 inches. Then you would put your 6-inch pieces up at the top. The reason, and it's very critical for inside mount applications, that you put the 6-inch pieces at the top. Once you have the hood, you have everything in here. If you ever had to get to the fasteners are behind the inner track, which the track retainers have to be removed in order to get the inner track out. If this goes all the way up to the top, there's no way that you're getting a screwdriver or anything else in there to wedge this off. These are designed not to come off. They are designed to hold the track in place during hurricane conditions. So trying to get up at the very top of the track where you have no leverage because you would have an open track, you would never be able to get a full length piece off. Those 6-inch pieces at the top, you can take a little hook, you can pull it off, you can take a screwdriver, you can just try and tap it off, but once these long pieces are on there, you really can't. So that 6-inch piece comes off, and then I can get this in here to actually start wedging this track off. But it's getting it to the start, and it's not designed to really come off easy. And you'd have to do that all the way down the track. So that's why the 6-inch pieces go at the top to make it easy, give you some leverage up there to remove the bottom track in case you ever had to get, to the fasteners. Other than that, if you ever had to do replacement screens, you don't have to remove the track retainers. You just basically take everything out, put the new screen onto the roller, slide the one off, slide the new one on, put your weight bar on. You can go in with your weight bar. You can go in with your roller, kind of like how I explained the recessed installation once you're out there in the field. So those should never have to come off once you install them, for pretty much any type of repairs or replacements. Rotor replacements, if you're out in the field, you do not have to disassemble the unit to change a motor. If your unit is stuck up in the air, get your ladders. If you got the little genies, get them out there so it takes the weight off of the weight bar, or have somebody hold the weight bar up. Disengage the motor side. There's going to be one screw that is about 26 inches in from the end of the motor. You're going to remove that one screw, the whole motor slides out. You slide the new motor in, you put that same screw into place, and you can change it up in the air. You can leave that idler side actually still engaged, so one person can almost do a motor swap if necessary. A lot of my guys can do, one person, motor swap on there. You don't need two, and you don't need to disassemble the whole unit. If the unit's stuck down, it makes it a lot easier because all the weight bar's down at the ground. Just pull the motor side out, slide the motor out, slide the new one in, put the screw in place, and then reset all of your limits with it. The last step of the process here really is only the hood cover. So the hood cover, you got a couple different access points to fasten it. One, the outside edge of the end cap right here, you have a screw that goes through the screw box of the front cover. So if you can access this screw on the outside, try to put that in. If you got two hoods that are butted up together, we have this little tab right here. So we do not pre-drill this bottom hole if you're going to use it, but you use the same screw that we supply here to go up into here. So just kind of use a pencil mark, mark it out, put a little 16th inch drill bit, put your self-tapper right into place to hold it and secure it. Any questions? You can screw them directly into the side of the post, yes. Yeah. Who are my structure guys here? So when you're doing structure, obviously going up into the gutter, you know, you're never going to be able to screw directly up. So going straight into the post, through the brackets, through the end caps, you can definitely do that for, you know, for those type of applications, you know, or any situation. Again, make sure that you're using long enough screws, big enough screws, making sure that you're getting enough embedment in there, so we don't want this thing falling down on somebody's head. That's the biggest thing. Any other questions? Y'all must be rock stars.